Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Madam, our principal, madam, are you here? Ma'am, are you here? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Huh.
Okay. Dr. Shomojit Acharya, are you there?
Yes, yes, yes. You are audible.
Okay. 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 Good morning, my dear colleagues and friends, and the respected participants, and the chairperson and the panelist. I invite all in today's national webinar organized by Department of Education and Department of English. Uh, our first speaker is Dr. Shomojit Acharya. I am giving his short introduction. Dr. Shomojit Acharya is now the head of the Department Education, Rampurhat College under Bardwan University, West Bengal. He is distinguished author. He has 10 books in his credits till now. Various chapters have also been penned by him as integral part of edited books pertaining to research work. He has invited by the coming university, People's Republic of China and Tokyo University, Japan, for his research papers. His writing get frequently Hello. Too much chaos. Please, everyone, mute yourself, please.
Okay. Good morning, my dear colleagues and friends, and the respected participants, and the chairpersons and the panelists. I invite all in today's national webinar by Department of Education and Department of English. Our first speaker is Dr. Shomojit Acharya. I am giving a short introduction. Dr. Shomojit Acharya is now the head of the Department Education, Rampurhat College under Bardwan University, West Bengal. He is distinguished author. He has 10 books in his credits till now. Various chapters have also been penned by him as integral part of edited books pertaining to research work. Invited by the coming university, People's Republic of China and Tokyo University, for its research papers. His writing
Dr. Shomojit Acharya has invited by the Kunming University, People's Republic of China and Tokyo University, Japan for his research papers. His writing get frequently published in leading magazines and newspapers across India, Bangladesh, Belgium and Australia. His writing has been translated into English, Jharkhandi and Serbian languages. He has been accoladed with numerous prestigious awards. He has been awarded in 2015 at Argentina Film Festival for one of his short film scripts. Films based on his scripts were screened in other prestigious film festivals like International Open Film Festival 2016 and Model and Movie Film Festival in 2016. Apart from the short film Moi Bhumi, written by him, was the semi-finalist in the IOFF and accomplished official screening in FINA 2015, ASFF 2016, MNMISFF 2016, IBISF 2017, AMC Theatres in 2017. He has presented a number of research papers in both national and international seminars. The author is executive member of International Literary, managing editor of Poem Spain International, and joint editor of Bahuman Journal. His writing and speech has been broadcasted in radio reading educational program in FM radio stations in Bolivia, South America. So,
এই
we
এই
are
এই
quite fortunate. Am
আমি
I
এটা
audible
লিখছি,
though?
একটুখানি দেখে দিবি এটার সাথে রিলেটেড করে।
Okay. So we are quite fortunate that we have such a eminent personality among us. So now I would like to request Dr. Shomujit Acharya to present his article that on peace education. On peace education, Dr. Shomujit Acharya, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sir, please, I invite you to please join with in our webinar. Please come and please tell us about your topic and all.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Uh, it is a great privilege for me to speak on this forum. First, I would like to thank to the organizers, especially to the principal of Shilpinath Mahavidyalaya, Dr. Uma Ghosh. I would like to give thanks to the convener of this national webinar, Dr. Samosri Shur, head of the Department of Education, Shilpinath Mahavidyalaya, and my heartiest wish to one of the panelists, Dr. Porshida Vishwas, HOD School of uh, Education, Adamas University, and other dignitaries, my co-speaker and participants. Thank you for being a part of this webinar. The name of my topic is Rebooting Peace, a new paradigm to combat with the present chaos by the pandemic. Let me discuss on it. Shamoshiram, will you please share the
Everybody is requested to mute yourself, otherwise I have to unmute all. Everybody is requested to mute yourself, please. Please maintain silence, please. Otherwise, the speaker cannot continue his speech. Please cooperate. Yes, sir, please continue.
will you please share the PPT?
Yes, I am telling Pratita madam. Pratita madam.
Yeah, just give me 2 minutes.
Okay. Share the screen of Dr. Somoji.
म्यूट करना यार, अनम्यूट करना, म्यूट करना, म्यूट हो रहा है, देखिए फटाफट कर, अनम्यूट करना, म्यूट पे क्लिक करो। हाँ।
Is it ready now? Porshida madam, is it ready now?
It is getting ready. Just a moment. Give me a moment.
It is getting ready. Just a moment.
I am seeing some of the participants have not joined with audio. I mean, they are only joined with video. So I am requesting everyone to join with audio and mute themselves. Because if you not join with audio, you cannot hear the speaker. There is option at the left side. Please join with audio.
Okay, I am starting the sharing screen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Can you see the screen sharing?
Yes, yes,
Is it visible now?
yes.
Yes.
Please start the begin PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, that I will do. I think it is visible on your face, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, it is
yes.
That's,
visible, madam. It
we
is
have seen
visible.
all slides. So, will you all please mute your phones or devices? Thank you. The topic is rebooting peace, a new paradigm to combat with the present chaos by the pandemic. This is a terrific period of our life. This is an empty, homogeneous time. The COVID-19 changes everything. We are living in fear. Please change the slide. Next slide. Uh, every day there are several deaths news, chaos. We are receiving affected patients number. Look at this picture. In the left side, this is a picture of an angry man. In the right side, there is also a picture, but there is no fear at his face. So what are we feeling now? We are peaceful now, or we are angry? We are in chaos. How can we analyze our life? What is the present situation? How is our heart? Let me discuss. Next slide. Next slide, please. If we look at the global scenario in society, we can see that according to
ভিডিও
UN,
অফ করে রেখেছি
according to UN, cases have increased by
অত তোকে দেখতে হবে না
20% during the lockdown, as many people are trapped home with their abuser. 31 million, that is not a silly number. 31 million more cases of violence worldwide has been registered. Who state that countries are reporting up to 60% increase in emergency calls by women subjected to violence by their intimate persons in April this year compared to the last year. The UN has described the worldwide increase of violence as a shadow pandemic alongside COVID-19. Next one. According to the survey report in Australia, more than 40% of frontline workers reported requests for help from violence. So it is an alarming situation. If we look at the France, we can see that in France, domestic violence cases increased by 30% since the lockdown on March 17. In Argentina, emergency calls have increased 25% for help from violence since the lockdown on 20th March. According to WHO's report, headlines in Singapore and Cyprus have registered a more than 30% increase in calls. So the situation is not good. Next slide. There are so many domestic violence cases. There are so many chaoses. Next slide.
সেমিনার ছাড়লে ওয়াটার প্লাগে মিলে গেছে তোমার ফোন করছি
But I want to share one thing here, that
Oh,
the area
oh,
of domestic violence is not concentrated on women only. There are so many sectors.
oh,
It may be, a person. It may be a
oh.
uh, male. It may be
Sandesh
female.
वाला
It
अच्छा.
may be child and older person also. We can see it very elaborate in the
मुंबई मध्ये होतो.
next slide. What are the area of domestic violence?
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
Next slide.
हो हो. हम्म. नाही त्याचं
One in
बघितलं.
6 women, that is 16.2%, and one in 19 men, that is 5.2% in the United
हाँ
States,
हाँ हाँ.
have experienced domestic violence nowadays.
हाँ.
41.4% men were primarily stalked by the intimate partner worldwide.
बरोबर बरोबर.
Among
नाही होईल ना,
victims,
आपण करू शकतो सगळं. औरंगाबादची काय,
of
मी
child
आता
abuse,
मी जी
40%
मीटिंग
report
ऑर्गनाईज
domestic
केली ना
violence
ती
in the home.
बांगलादेश मधून करलं.
If we look at the old people, we can see that
नाही ही एक आमचे
the age group between
अकॅडमिकची
60 and
आहे.
above have
अकॅडमिकची मीटिंग
experienced
आहे.
violence. And
नॅशनल
if we
सेमिनार
go
चालू आहे सध्या.
to the another dimension, that is
मी
among
बांगलादेश मधून हे
countries,
केलं.
we can see another interesting data I can share with you. There are so many controversies here among states,
हो हो.
among the countries. We can
थोड्या तुम्हाला फोन
see
करतो
here
तसं.
Japan and peer China. There have
आरामशीर आरामशीर.
controversies.
हा चालेल
Parts
ना
of
चालेल. नाही, मग माझं
South
पण
China
काम.
Sea, particularly Senkaku Islands, Ryukyu Islands, are claimed by Japan, and both countries are at loggerheads with these boundaries issues. There are also controversy in India and peer China. It was this expansionist policy that led to the recent clashes between PLA and Indian Army. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. There is also a controversial area, that is Japan and Piarchara borderline. Parts of South China Sea, particularly Senkaku Island, Ryukyu Islands, are claimed by Japan. Both countries are at loggerhead with these boundaries issues. Next slide. Nepal and India. Nepal government recently said, previous one. Previous one. Yes. Nepal and India. Who do this? Next one. Next one. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So please cooperate with me.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
There is also a controversy among Nepal and India. Nepal government recently said that they are repeatedly ready to fight against India. That is a very recent news. We can see this. And South Korea and People's Republic of China, they have also controversy. People's Republic of China has claimed recently all the South Korea on historical grounds. So that is the alarming situation. In the next slide, we can see that there is a controversy among United States and People's Republic of China. President of United States Donald Trump has repeatedly attacked People's Republic of China by words after coronavirus effect. The French Ministry of Foreign Affairs recently summoned Chinese ambassador for objectionable articles on Chinese embassy's website. Recently, in this pandemic time, coronavirus effect, Bhutan government stopped water supply to India. So what is the way? What is this? What is the solution? The solution is peace. If we look at the scenario, we can see that there is one solution, uh, that is peace, that can solve all problems. Then the $1,000,000 question is, what is peace? Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. We have talked already. What is peace? Next slide. The word peace is mostly used in narrow sense to mean absence of war. It should mean not only absence of war, but violence in all forms such as conflict, threat of life, social degradation, discrimination, oppression, exploitation, poverty, injustice, and so on. Peace cannot be built as long as violent social structures exist in society. Naturally, such structure will lead people to act violently. For instance, an unfair system of resource distribution is in the society leads to frustration of those who get less. Frustration leads people to violence. Uh, there are so many dimensions. According to economics, peace is the eradication of poverty. It is economic well-beingness of people. According to politics, peace is the outcome of democracy. Peace results from good governance. According to anti-military, stop war and there is peace. According to lawmakers, peace is the law and order. And according to social harmony, resolve conflicts between diverse groups, integrate such groups together through fair distribution of justice. Next slide. So there is a need for a change in thinking about both concepts and values as a necessary first step to solve our many problems. We need a holistic understanding of peace. A new way thinking about peace is so important today. It is because our ideas shape our feelings and our actions as well as how we relate with others. Once Dalai Lama said, we can never make peace in outer world until we make peace within ourselves. Because peace is presence of happiness, health, content, and good economy, social justice, and freedom for expression, creativity, and support for personal growth at all levels are elements of peace. It could be named as positive peace. Please change the slides. Please change slides. Go to the basic sources of peace. We have already clear. We have already talked on this slide. Change. Next, next, next one. Okay, wait. So the question arises, what is the basic sources of peace? There are three sources of peace. Number one is inner peace, number two is social peace, and number three is peace with nature. First, I want to elaborate what is inner peace. Inner peace is the peace with self, one whose mind remains calm in the middle of sorrows, whose thirst for pleasure has altogether disappeared, and who is free from passion, fear, and anger, is said to have achieved inner peace. For example, harmony and peace with oneself, good health, and absence of inner conflicts. Next slide. Next slide, please. The previous one. The previous one. The factor of I. Okay, thank you. So what is the most selfish word? Do you know? The most selfish word is I. iPhone, iPod, iPad, everything revolves around I, the most powerful word. And what is the I stands for? I stands for expectation. I should be loved like this. I should be dealt like this. I should be respected like this. I should not give this. Everything is surrounding up upon my opinion, my desire, my expectation, my likes, my dislikes. I want this. I don't want this. I, 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 and I. I only like to take. Everything should be my expectation. Our education system teaches like this. Our parents want marks. Our future demands our marks. Our future depend on marks. My opinion is the final because I love marks. Because I want this. I only learn to take. I want to share a story with you that is told once Gaur Gopal Das, the famous person. Uh, the story of a boy. One 5 years old boy comes to his mother and say, "Mama, I love you." Mother smiled and replied, "I love you too, beta." The boy, grown up, uh, he is now 16 years old. He said again, "Mama, I love you." Mama asked, "How much money you want? Kitna paise chahiye?" He grows up to be 25. He said again, "Mama, I love you." Mama asked, "Who is she?" तो उसका नाम क्या है? What does she say? "We will make arrangement." He turns to be 40. "Mama, I love you." Mother replied, "We told you, shadi mat karna, not to get married to her." He turns 60. Again said, "Mama, I love you." Mother replied, "I will not sign any paper. You can go." कोई paper में sign नहीं करेंगे. Because mother knows everything, because her eye revolves around with her family, not only self. We expect from God also. Give me this, give me that, give me this. I will give you 10 rupees para, the sweet. Give me that. I will give you matichur ka laddu. Everyone demand something. No one said, "I love you because I want to give you." Ask not what God can do for you. Ask what you can do for God. Ask not what country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. Ask not what society can do for you. Ask what you can do for the society. So the most selfish word is most frustrating word, because your expectation is so big, never ending. That's why I is the most selfish word. So how do you avoid the word? Expectation is not a problem at all, but you have to understand that not everyone will fulfill your expectation, your desire. Try to serve others, because when you want to be served, you are depend on others. But when you want to serve, who can stop you? When you want to respect, people may not respect you. But when you want to give respect, who can stop you? When you want to be loved, you may not be loved. But when you want to give love, who can stop you? So Learn to begin your journey from I to you. The factor of you always makes you happy. More you want for yourself, you remain frustrated. But more you want to give, you will be happy, peaceful. Next slide. According to Ralph Waldo Emerson, nobody can bring you peace but yourself. So be prepared. Second piece is social peace. Social peace is learning to live together. For example, peace between man and man, harmony arising from human relationship at all levels, conflict, compromise and resolution, love, friendship, utility, unity, uh, mutual understanding, acceptance, cooperation, brotherhood, tolerance of differences, democracy, community building, human rights, morality. And what is the third one? That is peace with nature. Next slide. Next slide, please. Planet Earth is the cradle of human civilization. But we destroyed everything. We have destroyed plants, we have destroyed a river, we have destroyed fields. Symbolically, our Mother Earth are facing so many trouble. But if you want peace, we need peace with nature. Peace with nature implies stopping the violence of our dignity through environmental and ecological degradation, exploitation, etc. For example, harmony with natural environment and Mother Earth. Actually, peace is a way and outcome. So we have to go through this. And here, the relevance of peace education is important. Next slide, please. Change the slide. Next one. Next one. Second, next slide. So what is peace education? The concept of peace education. Peace education is more effective and meaningful when it adapted according to the social and cultural context and the need of a country. It should be enriched by the cultural and spiritual values together with the universal human values. It should also be globally relevant. Nowadays, this is also relevant because we are very much anxious, very much in chaos. So rapidly, there is no there will be no change, but we can change gradually. Uh, Peace education draws out from people their instincts to live peacefully with other and emphasizes peaceful values upon which society should be based. Peace education is the process of acquiring the values and knowledge and developing the attitude, skills, and behaviors to live in harmony with one lives, with others, and with the natural environment. Peace education is an attempt to respond the problems of conflict and violence on scales ranging from the global and national to the local and personal. It, it is about exploring ways of creating more just and sustainable figure. Next one. Next slide, please. Uh, Next one, please change the slide. Next slide. Peace education is skill building. It empowers children to find creative and non-destructive ways to settle conflicts and to live in the harmony with themselves, others, and their world. Peace building is the task to every human being and the challenge of human family. So, what are the aims and objectives of peace education? We can see in the next slide. Peace education needs not to impart it as a separate subject in the timetable. It is a integrated and interdisciplinary subject. If satanic verses of satanic verses gives you peace, then we should go for it. If Tagore's song offerings make you happy, then it should be in your curriculum. To create in the learner the awareness, knowledge, and sensitivity regarding issues that deals with the war and peace, power and justice, gender and race, ecology and environment, conflicts, etc. To develop skills in critical thinking and problem solving, conflict resolution, empathy, assertiveness, sharing, and cooperation. To instill in the learner the attitude of self-respect and self-esteem, respect for others, open-mindedness and vision, environmental concern, etc. Next one, instill the desire for peace and to detest war and violence, understanding the meaning of coexistence, reduce differences between people of various states in India and other countries, accept each other's religion, values of compassion, yoga and meditation are also useful, learn to adapt the nature. So we can introduce in separately, categorically at primary level, secondary level, we can go through this. At primary level, could focus on values, foundations for personality formation, development of social skills necessary to live together in harmony, to enable students for to understand the value formation of peace, the need to promote skill for the peaceful resolution of conflicts. Next one. At secondary level, could be enabled to view the culture of peace from the perspective of Indian history, philosophy, and culture. Education for peace could focus more on citizenship education. A brief introduction to the basic features and cultures of the Constitution, the various challenges to the national unity. The main emphasis here must be on promoting an attitude of respect for diversity and differences. Students also need to be made aware of the various obstacles of unity. Next slide. At higher secondary level, understanding the logic, modes, and expression of violences, skill for understanding of issues, and developing a global perspective on peace. There are so many activities for this level. Student can develop skill for peacemaking by including peace issues in debates, seminars, and audiovisual shows, participation of children in role plays, dramas, composing peace poems, peace songs, participation in various days observed internationally to help develop sustainability, to develop sensitivity towards others. Religious festivals and National Day could be celebrated in the schools and neighborhood, storytelling sessions, etc., etc. Please change. Okay. In higher education level, uh, we can develop knowledge through peace education. World Heritage Sites as a testimony of peace, human rights, and democracy, to importance of racial non-discrimination, tolerance, and respect for all people and their cultures. We can develop attitudes to encourage students to respect other people and their cultures and motivate them to search for peaceful conflict resolution in their lives. We can develop skill through work together as a group. It may be on online, resolve conflicts peacefully among themselves and help others learn about peaceful conflicts and resolution. Participating in various political and civil life competitions. So there are so many issues. There are so many areas we can develop. Please change the slide. Next one. Next one. I've already discussed on this. Go to the scope of peace education. Next one. Next one. The previous one. Previous one. The previous one. Scope of peace education. Peace education have 4 levels: individual level, school or community level, national level, and global level. First, that is self-development level or individual level. Building an effective integrated personality in the child with positive self-esteem. An individual has to have many skills like those related to affirmation, positive thinking, empathetic listening, and communication, assertive behavior, decision making, and critical thinking. Please change the slide. Now I want to share a story of Gautam Buddha. That can help us to understand what is self-esteem and what is self-regulating peace. Once Lord Buddha with his disciple went to a village to beg for food. They knocked at a house and requested for food. After a long time, an angry man opened the door. Please change the slide. Gautama Buddha began for beg Gautam. Next slide. Yeah, okay, right. The door. Gautam Buddha begged for food very politely. The man furiously shouted at him, telling that if he is not capable to earn his living, even after having a healthy body, then he is cursed. He stabbed his anger with lot of bad languages. Buddha's disciple could not bear the insult and approached to confront the angry man. But Buddha held his hand and stopped him. After returning to their place and having their food, Buddha told his disciple, he said, today he would like to give him a gift, that is his holy pot, Kamandulu. We can see the picture of Kamandulu in the next slide. We know this Kamandulu, the holy water pot for gurus and saints. So Buddha said, I will give you. The disciple was very happy. Then Lord Buddha said, if he gives him the holy pot and the disciple would not accept, then whom would the pot belongs to? The disciple answered that it would belongs to Lord Buddha and not him. Buddha smiled and said that the angry man who had thrown odd words towards him does not affect Buddha because he did not accept those words. If anyone told me you are looking like Rashogolla, if I do not accept this word, then Rashogolla is not my designation or my uh, picture. Rasgulla uh, to the remains same to that person. The moral of the story is the world may impose negative impacts to you, but you will remain unaffected if you do not accept it. So be patient and do for the peace. The next slide, that is community level. After this, school or community level, to have uh, a peaceful climate, peace culture. Peace has to be caught rather than be taught. Developing a friendly and mutually respectful teacher-people relationship. It should be very necessary in our online classes also. Teacher-centered classroom approach to child-centered learning. Interesting teaching and learning methods in the friendly and lively atmosphere. In national level, next slide, we have to focus on the citizenship education. It is an integral part to peace education. Learning and understanding the current social, socio-political and economic problems and issues is also important. Students as future citizens need to develop healthy and realistic perspectives to view problems in the society. If you don't do this, then how can you control domestic violence? That is the outfall of the ratio, and ratio is the outfall of this domestic violence. So if you don't regulate this through peace education, how can we expect after 10 years when another influenza come, we can regulate it? So we have to do gradually, day by day. Next slide, that is global level. The ultimate purpose of education is to produce a world citizen. Children have to develop a sensible worldview. The school or college or university can select current issues, generate discussions and debates on world issues for raise the global awareness in the students. Some such issues are cultures, populations, racism, gender issues, world poverty, trading relationships, world cultures, animal rights, etc. Next one. Next slide. So we can develop our peace education curriculum in two ways. Number one is integrated to the content. We can include social studies, science, home science, language, art, music, vocational subjects, psychology, etc. But all subjects should be peace-centric. And number two, extramural activities, that is games, film shows, discourses and debates, exhibitions, seminars, campaigns, projects, club activities, etc. That can be do through online also. Next one. So we should, so if you want peace, we should enlightenment. We should develop our enlightenment. Next slide. There are 6 A's to bring peace, happiness, and enlightenment. That is 1, Shiksha or education. Number 2, Shasto, that is health. Number 3, Shavalamban or self-reliance. Number 4, Shamajik Nyaya and that is justice. Shamvedan, that is sensitivity. And number 6, Shamata, that is equality. Next slide. There are some suggestions for online mode and offline mode also. Please change the slide. To achieve peace, to conduct community and social development projects. to offer international web-based education for peace, to establish a comprehensive online library, to conduct research on the principles of education for peace and make the findings available globally, to develop curricula of education for peace, to train educators and education for peace specialists to use their knowledge and expertise in pursuit of peace through peace education, to offer expert consulting services. Next slide. And there are some offline mode suggestions. Uh, Set up peace clubs and peace libraries in schools, college, and universities. Create a pool of films that can be done through online also. Choose a media as a stakeholder in education for peace. We have already doing this, and electronic media can be used to broadcast peace program in school, colleges, and universities. Organize programs to promote the attitude of respect and responsibility towards women. Organize district level peace festivals for school students. Facilitate short-term exchange between students from various streams. That can be happen through online, because the world is open for us. The world is in our mobile, so we can do it very easily. We can exchange our views, our cultures through online classes and offline classes also. Encourage and enable students to serve as volunteers in peace projects. Organize workshops in education for peace for teachers, principals, and parents. A nationwide campaign to eradicate corruption. Next one. So there is also one thing, we need support service during lockdown. In Ukraine, psychologists providing mobile supported counseling services via Skype, Viber, Zoom since the quarantine started. In France, Germany, Italy, Norway, and Spain, pharmacies and supermarkets have become safe go-to space where the utterance of a code word, that is Marks 19, signals an urgent request for protection from domestic abuser. Next one. So what is the conclusion? We are now the era of robotics economics. Everything is measured through dollars. Everything has determined by the rich class. According to neoliberalists, we are facing now the corporate metaphor of the society. Walter Benjamin once said, we are living in an empty, homogeneous time. We are in hollow time. I need mobile, I need laptop, I need AC car, I need AC room, I need everything. So in this time, commodity is the main variable. If you have so many things, you are happy. Otherwise, you are not happy at all. So we are facing a combination of crises, that is the time of hyper reality. So we have to overcome it through develop collective responses. We should develop attitude towards the interest of maximum people. We need inclusive policies. In this context, peace is an important variable. We should develop our peace within ourselves. Next slide. We should travel towards within. Next slide, please. We have to go through inside, because peace is always beautiful. Mother Teresa said, we do not need guns and bombs to bring peace. We need love and compassion. Because peace is not an ease, it is becoming. Next slide. also we have to develop ourselves to cope with the situation through peace, to develop ourselves within peace, and to circulate peace throughout the society. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Shomojit, have you finished your lecture?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shomojit. Now I would like to invite Dr. Prarthita Vishwas, madam, as panelist. Please you discuss on Shomojit Babu's matter or his speech, on his speech. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Ramasri. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good
I am
afternoon.
the panelist who will be reviewing the paper on Shomojit, and who is very much known to me, and he is a great speaker, has traveled nationally and internationally. My take on his abstract on rebooting peace is he has made a stress-free and hassle-free state of security and calmness that comes when there is a fighting of war, everything coexisting in perfect harmony and freedom. So the need for peace is very much existing in today's world, as well as in this COVID-19 scenario, as we all know. The need of parading of peace is not only social peace, but inner peace as well, which he has very rightfully highlighted upon. And regarding this inner peace, it refers to a state of being mentally and spiritually at peace, peace at all the levels, through workplace, through personal space and emotional space as well. And the increase in violence reported by World Health Organization and other similar organizations due to the lockdown is really an area of concern. So we have to look into this matter. Dr. Acharya has highlighted that in a rightful direction, and requirements for sensitization and indicating practices leading to family, leading to the well-being and harmony is to be very much practiced nowadays. And we have to train students. Actually, many of us are teacher educators here. So we have to train students, we have to guide students through rightfully in this path, and which Dr. Somojit has already highlighted and in a rightful way. And through education, we have to do this. And in conclusion, I would like to state that he has very rightfully stressed upon the I factor. The I factors to factor you by focusing on empathy rather than sympathy. That is also another important point which he has highlighted very rightfully. So Dr. Promojit Acharya, head of the department and assistant professor of Rampurhat College under Vardhaman University, he has given a wonderful and nice and enlightening lecture as well as presentation on this series of contemporary issues of education. I would also like to congratulate Dr. Shamastri Shur, convener, as well as the head of Department of Education, Professor Uma ma'am, whom we dearly call Uma ma'am. Uma ma'am, you are very much enlightened, and that is why the webinars are going on one after another. That is why I also congratulate you from my end. So thank you all. That was very enlightening from my end. Thank you, Shamastri. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your enlightened speech. And as panelist, you have proved yourself to describe the speech of Dr. Shomojit Acharya. Next, we know we have another session as Department of English also jointly collaborated with us. We are thankful to the teachers of Department of Education, Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Shubhodit Mojumdar. I am giving his short introduction. Shubhodip Mojumdar is the assistant professor of Poland Group of Institutions. He has been appointed as assistant professor in education as pedagogy subject in Department of Education in B.Ed and M.Ed level. Presently, a research scholar. He is a research scholar working on how ELT, that is English language teaching, can improve the LSRW skills among children. That is, we all know, listening, speaking, reading, and writing skill among children. If I want to describe his alma mater, he has been masters in English, awarded masters in English and education from Department of English and Education from Calcutta University, and also he has got his MA degree. He is keenly interested in literature and analyzing literary works of different genres, and he has also NAC consultant, NAAC consultant, and he has been in the academic field for the last 12 years. So this is his brief introduction. Now I would like to invite Mrinmoy Mukherjee. Mrinmoy, are you there?
Yes, madam.
Yes. On Shubhajit sir's speech, you just give a brief introduction, only 1 minute. Please share your view.
Is my voice audible, madam?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. It's an honored feeling for all of us to have Mr. Shubhadeep Mojumdar amongst us as the eminent speaker. One thing that I'll discuss now is the present state, present tough condition. And standing in this condition, the topic that will be discussed hereafter is very contemporary. So in no time, I'll request Mr. Shubhadeep Mojumdar to present his topic. Sir, are you present?
Yes, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
okay, sir. Okay, sir, please continue your speech, sir. You can continue.
Okay, a very good afternoon to all of you. At the very beginning, I would like to thank the organizers of Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya, especially Dr. Uma Ghosh, principal of the college, and Dr. Shamastri Shur, the HOD of the Department of Education, for organizing this seminar. Because without your efforts, probably I would not have got this opportunity to address the academic fraternity, which has conglomerated on this day. I would also like to extend my warm regards to my co-speaker, Dr. Shomujit Acharya, head of the Department of Rampurat College, and at the same time, one of the panelists, Dr. Pratya Biswas, who is an associate professor and the HOD of School of Education of Adams University. Before I embark on my topic, I would just like to give an overview of what I am going to speak about today. Actually, I wish to probe into the mind of Prufrock, that is J. Alfred Prufrock, the famous literary creation of T.S. Eliot. And I also wish to present this fact that Prufrock is not a product of the modern age, but he has evolved through the different ages that we see in English literature. And I'm going to do that by citing a few literary examples. Can I request the organizers to urge the academic fraternity present here to keep their microphones on mute, because my concentration is very fragile and it is not as constant as that of Dr. Acharya. So if everyone could mute your audio, that would be easier for me to speak. There are a lot of distractions, so if the audio of all the participants could be kept on mute. For example, you can see an infant giggling. So if the microphone could be kept on mute, it would be easier for me to speak. Thank you. Now, there is a chance that there are many students who are attending this webinar. So for them, I would like to give a very brief overview of what modern age poetry is all about. Now, in the modern age, poets attempted to describe the world they saw before them in poetry, instead of creating a fictional world for their readers. The modern world was seen as breaking apart, and the meanings of things were constantly being questioned. obviously, as a result of all these factors, modernism struggled with the fragmentation and complexity which was brought about by such states. Going deep into the ethos of modern era, I would like to cite what Joseph Campbell, the famous mythologist Joseph Campbell, had said in The Power of Myth. He said that the hero is today means the modern times, the hero is today running up against a hard world which is in no way responsive to his spiritual need. According to him, the modern society has become a kind of stagnation of inauthentic lives and living, which evokes nothing of our spiritual life, even our potentialities and our physical courage. Now, we all know that literature reflects or mirrors society and life, and T.S. Eliot, as a poet, actually picks up a brush. Like a keen painter, he dexterously portrays the true picture of the sterile modern world. He sketches and he outlines the anxiety, the decline, the ambiguity, the fragmentation, paralysis, and disorder of the early 20th century through meticulous, keen, and realistic delineation of the character called Prufrock. Now, in my discussion, I wish to probe into the mind of Prufrock and try to show how Prufrock represents modern man in general. In the portrayal of Prufrock, we will find that there's a story of frustration. There's a story of failure. There's a story of debasement. There's a story of paralysis. There's a story of emasculation, uncertainty, conscious inertia, self-effacement, and on top of everything, spiritual infertility. Prufrock speaks in that poem called The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. He speaks, he suffers, and this is very important, he agonizes on behalf of the 20th century. In fact, his agonies are generalized. Now, in the modern era, man has become like an isolated island, stranded or marooned in a deserted sea, where he has lost all hopes of salvation, or for that matter, redemption. Now, the title of the poem is a bit deceptive. The title of the poem is Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Now, as we read the poem, we get to see that it is not a love song, but it is a kind of an elegy. Now, we all know that elegy is a song of lamentation, a poem of mourning. Now, it is an elegy which discusses the fall of modern man who is trapped in an infinite dilemma and constant failure to maintain his identity and existence. There is an unceasing quest for the meaning and purpose of life, and that has always been the prime concern for the modern man. Prufrock, as we can see in the poem, is hyper-conscious about asserting his identity and existence. Now, before I go any further, I would like to share with you a very important factor about this presentation. That is getting a kind of a CT scan of his brain. I mean, Prufrock, getting a proper CT scan of his brain within the time frame that is available for this webinar is not possible. So I have tried to, or rather I will try from here on, I will try to be concise with my presentation without affecting the essence of the character. Now, Prufrock witnesses an endless struggle to establish his existence and maintain his identity. However, all his efforts are futile because they bring no result, and the efforts themselves are actually disillusioned by his mental inabilities and psychological paralysis. The love song, therefore, in reality is a deep psychological analysis of the mind and psyche of a neurotic coward, a psychosexually paralyzed, more tragic hero, a modernist tragic hero who cannot keep track of what time it is. He cannot cope with the modern world, and he transpires or emerges as a helpless lover who is entrapped in the shackles of the present time. He is hesitant, he is indecisive, and he is unable to take a decision about making about making the proposal to his so-called potential cruel mistress. Now, T.S. Eliot has presented Prufrock with a dichotomy in his personality. The state of his mental, psychological, physical paralysis eventually shapes his fragmented and sophisticated thoughts and actions. Dr. Shur, if you could please urge the participants to keep their audio on mute. It's my earnest request.
Okay. Please, please mute yourself. Please, participants, please mute yourself.
Thank you, Dr.
Everybody
Shur.
is muted, sir. Everybody is muted. I am muting them.
In that case, you will mute me also.
Just wait. No, now all are muted. Now, you can continue, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your technical support in that matter. Now, as I was telling you, that Prufrock's thoughts are fragmented, and so are his actions. He actually lives in a state of lethargy and slothfulness, which is similar to the people of the modern era. Now, this is a state, that is the state of lethargy or slothfulness. It's good to see that infants are also interested in my discussion. It's really a heartwarming feeling that a topic which is taken up in university and college level is fascinating and infant as well. So thank you, Dr. Shur and Dr. Ghosh, for giving me this proud feeling. Now, as I was telling you that this state of lethargy and slothfulness actually comes as a result of an endless suffering, squalor, and you may call it corruption of the complicated modern life. Now, as there is a split in Prufrock, there is an eternal internal conflict within him. Obviously, it's a psychological one between Prufrock and his other soul. There's a split in his personality, right? There are two selves of Prufrock. One is the conscious will, and the other is the unconscious wish. And therefore, the love song actually examines the tortured psyche and fragmented reality of a prototypical self-conscious modern man. Now, see, at the beginning of my discussion, I told you that I would cite a few literary examples in order to establish or substantiate my view that Prufrock is not a product of the modern society, but he is someone who has evolved through the different ages. And the first example which I would like to cite in this context is that of please, participants, if you keep your microphone on, you won't be able to hear me and you will end up distracting me.
Continue.
Yes, I am continuously trying to mute.
You know pretty well.
I'm muting every time.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Muting
Okay.
actually. All the time, actually, I am muting. I'm going on muting them. Okay, continue, sir. Sorry for the disturbance.
No, no, you need not be sorry. Actually, uh, the decorum of an academic conglomeration needs to be maintained, and the onus lies with us. So you need not be sorry. Uh,
Yes.
Now, see, at the beginning of my discussion, I told you that I'm going to present Prufrock not just as a product of the modern age, but someone who has evolved through the different literary ages. And I'm
আমাৰ
going
ইয়াত
to
ফ্ৰণ্ট এণ্ড
cite
চেণ্টাৰ আছে যে
example,
সেইটো কাৰণে আহিবলৈ দিয়া নাই পেৰেণ্টছক
and I'm going to cite
এডমিশ্যনটো পাবই বাৰু চিন্তা কৰিব
examples in
নালাগে
that regard. The first example which I would like to cite is
যাব
that
পাৰে
of Prince Hamlet, the tragic hero of Shakespeare's cult play Hamlet. Now, Prufrock actually compares his indecisiveness and lack of audacity to that of Prince Hamlet. However, soon he realizes that his problem is not as intricate and as tragic as that of Prince Hamlet. And therefore, he gives up the comparison and accepts his weakness. Now, in Shakespeare's play, we find Hamlet soliloquizing. He says that famous quote, "To be or not to be, that is the question." Now, we find a similar oscillation of mind, a kind of an echo in Prufrock's voice when he asks to himself, "Do I dare? Do I dare disturb the universe?" It is quite obvious that Prufrock is conscious of his own limitations, and he is self-depreciating at times. He says, I quote, "At times indeed, almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool." Now, in the poem, you will find that Prufrock recalls Polonius, who was a courtier and a servant of King Claudius, that was Hamlet's father. And Prufrock thinks that he is fit for such a role. He admits that he may not be respectable, serviceable, intelligent, cautious, deferential, although at times ridiculous and a bit obtuse like a clown. Prufrock analyzes and reflects on his character and thinks low of himself. Now, when he thinks low of himself, we realize that it is a very contemptible condition that Prufrock undergoes. And that makes him a true representative of the modern man, who cannot live his life, rather his own life, and he is in a constant dilemma because of the torturing world that is around him. Now, Prufrock's condition is often very similar to our condition, we the modern individuals, because very often we are to conform to the living of a life of the other, which is an instance of utter self-deception. We cannot be what we want to be, but we have to be what the world wants us to be. And when we behave as the world wants us to behave, we somehow deceive ourselves for not being what we are. Now, this painful entanglement, I would say, leads to the utter isolation from the mainstream of society, as they want to escape the abrasive reality by hiding themselves. They become recluse. The idea of duplicity in both aspects, that is, within the man and between the man and society. Within the man, if there is a split, and within the man and society, has got a very profound impact on him. The conflict between Prufrock, who stands for the modern man, and himself, and also his conflict with society, condemns him to boredom and passivity. And hence, Prufrock considers his role in the society no more than that of a fool. Now, Prufrock is a resident of a hell. The question is, where does this hell lie? Where is this inferno? Now, let me tell you in this context, the inferno actually lies in the mind of Prufrock, right? The inferno, the greater hell is London, which is the locale of the poem. So his inferno, besides being his mind, is the city of London, which has been described as a sterile modern city, which is covered with a dark and gloomy sky. The streets are half deserted, they are detested, and the evening which Prufrock describes, remember it's a love song, the poem opens with a romantic setting. It says, let us go you and I when the evening is spread against the sky, okay? And the jolt comes in the third line when Prufrock says, like a patient etherized upon a table. So the romantic mood which is set in the first two lines is completely annihilated. It's completely eradicated by the comparison, by the simile of a patient which is, or of a patient who is lying under the effect of ether or anesthesia. Now, obviously, this is a dehumanizing and grotesque image, which actually shows the disorder and unpleasant environment of the mind of Prufrock. And surprisingly, you find the theory of objective correlative coming in play over here. The environment in the landscape complements the environment of the mindscape. So the mind of Prufrock finds a kind of an external manifestation in London. Now, if I remove the name of London, then the description that is given in the poem would seem to suggest that it could be any modern city and not just London. So the unpleasant environment of Prufrock's mind is reflected in the image of the evening that is lying under the effect of, that as a patient is lying under the effect of anesthesia. So he portrays the turbulent world around him with his comparison. However, at the beginning of the poem, we as readers, or we as literary critics,
Shubhadeep is muted.
Yes, yes, wait. Actually, Thomas speaking outside. I have to mute. Just wait, ma'am. Now I cannot find Shubhajit.
Is there any connection problem?
No, no.
Hello? Because Shubhadeep, yeah, Mr. Majumdar, are you
yes,
there?
yes, I am there.
Yeah.
Actually, Dr. Shur had muted me.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Actually,
So
sir, actually, all the participants are so many speaking
I can
outside, and
understand. I can understand,
it's
ma'am. You need not give me an explanation.
just a
I
fault
understand.
from my part. Sorry, sorry.
I can understand. You need not give me an explanation. I can understand.
Okay.
I hope my discussion is not causing you any kind of boredom.
No, no, sir. Excellent speaking. Excellent, excellent
Okay.
speech. Continue, sir. Continue.
So I don't know from where you had muted me, but I would like to go back to what I was saying, that in the depiction of London, we find a kind of portrayal of the turbulent world that is around him. However, at the beginning of the poem, we are not sure if it is Prufrock himself or his split self that invites his cruel mistress to accompany him and we find Prufrock keep changing his mind relentlessly. However, it transpires from the rest of the poem that it is his divided self that he wants him to accompany rather than his beloved, because he is too afraid and reluctant to ask a woman for company. I would like to focus on two important images that are seen in the poem. One is that of the yellow fog, and the other one is of the yellow smoke. Now, both yellow fog and yellow smoke actually remind the readers of the modern and dirty urban atmosphere, where Prufrock, as a representative of the powerless modern man, finds himself unnecessarily confined and trapped. In fact, he feels claustrophobic. Now, Prufrock is actually a tragic hero, obviously with
Samosri,
The speaker has been muted.
No, Shubhajit is there. Shubhadeep is there. No problem.
I unmuted myself. I won't
Okay.
allow Dr. Shute to strangle my voice. I won't allow her. Once I have got an opportunity to speak, so I'll make sure that I make full use of the opportunity. Okay. So
Okay.
so Prufrock, as a hero, as a tragic hero, has a lot of complexities and a few tragic flaws. And he is actually Eliot's spokesperson, because Eliot wants to delineate the traumas of a sophisticated modern civilization. Now, as a modern protagonist, Prufrock suffers from endless hesitations and indecisions. He keeps on saying to himself, there will be a time, I quote, there will be a time, there will be a time. The question is, when is that time going to arrive? We don't get any answer. And in this context, he is somewhere getting associated with Vladimir and Estragon of Waiting for Godot, right? Even Prufrock waits for that time. What time, we don't know, but we can expect, or we can hope, that he is probably waiting for redemption or for salvation. Now, I have already spoken about this, that he is an incarnation of a split figure, right? There's a split within him. There's a dichotomy within him, and the dichotomy is between his reason and his heart, right? There's a dichotomy between the paralysis of the will and the inaction regarding, say, a love proposal. He refers to Hamlet, right? And as I have told you, that when he asks, do I dare to disturb the universe, he somewhere gets linked with Hamlet, who keeps on oscillating when he asks, to be or not to be is the question. Prufrock, as I've told you, he himself compares himself to Hamlet. And this comparison actually helps us to understand the psychological malady that Prufrock suffers from. The introspections that Prufrock goes through are a result of his emotional frustration and feeling of debasement and inferiority. Now, we see Prufrock as a middle-aged person who is prone to irresolution and promises which are not kept. Now, we know that in all classical tragedy, the tragic hero meets his death. Now, Prufrock in this poem does not die. However, there is an implied death he suffers. He suffers a kind of a metaphorical death, which may be described as death in life, right? He is not living. He is not alive any longer. He is merely existing, which indirectly suggests or I may call it in this way, since I have already told you that he is not living, but he is someone who is existing. And this idea of implied death is reflected in the scene of drowning, which we get to see in the end of the poem. Ironically, and unfortunately, Prufrock is quite conscious of the fact that he is psychologically paralyzed and he suffers from inaction. Still, he cannot get himself out of the sea of doubt, of entrapment, shame, and disorder. He fails to convince people to feel what he wants to convey. And that is actually quite evident and visible in his endless struggle to expose the real meaning of his speech. He keeps on saying, that is not what I meant at all. That is not at all. Now, see, the most disastrous tragedy of modern man is when he cannot even murder himself. Now, murder is a word that Prufrock himself uses. He cannot murder himself. Self-effacement, thus, is the only option which is left in such intricate circumstances. Prufrock favors self-effacement, for he is afraid to have a close contact with reality, right? There is a tendency to alienate himself from reality that he is a part of. The reason is reality is unbearable. Reality is incompatible with his self, with his nature, and with what he wants to be. Now, as he recoils from reality, as he retreats from reality, as he withdraws himself from reality, he expresses a desire. And what is it? He wishes to be a lower animal, and he dehumanizes his soul and identity. He himself says, I quote his words, I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. I repeat, I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. Now see, if you focus on this desire of Prufrock, you will get to see that he wishes to be a lower animal, because being it, as far as he is concerned, is more desirable than to be continuing with his dreary existence. Now, I will analyze this particular speech of Prufrock when he says that he wishes to be a pair of ragged claws. Now, claws on one level suggest the longing for a kind of an uncomplicated animal existence. They can clutch their prey and make off with it without any preface of do I dare or shall I say. These are the questions which Prufrock asks very often. Do I dare, shall I say? So when the claws are put into action, then this prologue can be done away with. In that case, they are like the mermaids who are at home and free in the silent seas and can scuttle as they desire. However, at the same time, they cannot go forward. And in this context, I would again like to quote what Hamlet says to Polonius. He says, yourself, sir, shall grow old as I am. Please mark my words. Yourself, sir, shall grow old as I am, if like a crab, a crab has claws, if like a crab, you could go backward. And see, we find a similar echo of mourning, a kind of a reverberation of lament when Prufrock says, I'm growing old. Like Hamlet, his secret desire or wish is only to regress to a safe haven where his inner universe, that is the universe of his mind, of his soul, is no longer disturbed by any tormenting human problems. I have reached almost the end of my discussion, and I am yet to trace the journey of Prufrock from the different ages of English literature. I will be doing it now. I think time is running short.
Yes, sir. How much time do you require?
You have to suffer me for 5 more minutes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. No problem, sir. Continue.
Okay. Now see, this poem, Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, seeks to find out a way from the spiritual decline that modern man has gone through. Now, this is the most important, or you can say the most intriguing part of my discussion, because I wish to trace this decline back to the Victorian age. Now, those who have read English or those who have studied English literature up to a particular level, every one of us is aware of that famous literary character Ulysses, not of James Joyce, but of Tennyson. Okay, Tennyson's Ulysses is the Victorian overreacher whose personalized quest for the infinite made him renounce his filial faith. Now, what was the background to Victorian literature? It was the decline of religious faith and spread of rapid industrialization, which form the background to Victorian literature. During that time, explorations of new horizons in the dominions of science had led to the invention of a host of various items, and most importantly, the theory of evolution of species by Darwin. Now, the different inventions and Darwin's theory had shaken the foundations of man's faith in God. And that had either led him to renounce old values and adopt rampant utilitarianism on one hand, or it left him caught on a limbo, a kind of a pendulum. They kept on oscillating between the two extreme attitudes of the Victorian era, right? They could not figure out whether we should be adopting rampant utilitarianism or we should be clinging on to faith. Now, those who were oscillating on a limbo are the ones who in the modern world, which is a wasteland, have become hollow men with their headpiece filled with straw. Whatever, Ulysses, Victorian overreacher Ulysses, Tennyson's Ulysses, measured life in the utilitarian terms of profit and loss, and the barren crags of Ithaca, that is his kingdom, turned into the wasteland of one's being, right? So it is the Prufrock that we see in the modern era is probably, that is my observation, it is probably a Ulysses walking to us through the Victorian age, right? Only to find that the barren crags that he had abandoned had turned into a wasteland, right? So Ulysses remains the quintessential wanderer, like the ancient mariner of Coleridge. He remains the quintessential wanderer like the ancient mariner who embarks on a voyage through the sea of life. He keeps on expressing his yearning for limitless pursuit of his dreams. But at the same time, he illustrates Tennyson's conviction that such lack of faith can only lead to personal and social dislocation. Now see, the personal and social dislocation that Tennyson hinted at is observed in another poem, that is The Listeners, written by Walter de la Mare. Again, this is my observation, that the Ulysses who had abandoned Ithaca, who had entrusted his son with the responsibility, he had entrusted his son Telemachus with the responsibility of running on with the or rather carrying on with the administration of the kingdom, he had deserted his wife, his aged wife, and he embarked on a personalized quest. At one point of time, he does return, and he returns as the traveler in Walter Delamere's The Listeners. But his purpose is not fulfilled. If you remember that poem, he comes and he knocks on the door thrice, but his knocks, his calls do not elicit any response. Why? Because there was only a host of phantom listeners who could listen to him, but but they could never reciprocate. Why? Because when Ulysses abandoned Ithaca and deserted his family, it was at that point of time the language of communication was snapped, and the language of faith was also broken. If you remember, utilitarianism was adopted, faith was ignored, faith was relegated. And therefore, the language of faith, the language of communion, these were snapped. Now, imprisoned in this faithless, inescapable self, a proof rock is created. So this is what I was trying to arrive at, that the proof rock that we see today is not someone who has taken birth in the 20th century. He has traveled through many generations. We can say that he is the ancient mariner of Woolwich. We can say that he is Ulysses of Tennyson. We can say that he is the traveler of Walter Delamere's The Listeners. Whatever he is now the representative of modern man. He is left to shore up against his ruins. He is left to shore up against his ruins, the barren crags of his own being. Now, the condition of proof rock is actually a manifestation of Dante's trilogy. Dante's Inferno and Paradiso. Inferno is I urge all the participants to mute the audio. Now, the condition of proof rock is actually a manifestation of Dante's Inferno and Purgatorio until Paradiso can be prayed for in the hurried and desperate prayers of Datta, Dayadvam, and Damayata. I'll explain. Datta, Dayadvam, Damayata, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now, strangely, but it's true that what my co-speaker said in the middle of his presentation complements the conclusion of my speech. See, Datta means to give. Dayadvam means to be compassionate, to share, right? So instead of being isolated islands in the modern world, we should come forward, we should give, we should share. And only if this is possible, I hope Dr. Acharya would agree with me, that if we come forward, if we are willing to give, if we voluntarily offer ourselves, if we give ourselves, if we share, then we can gain the control of the mind, we can gain self-control, we can attain peace. And that is what Damayata means. Datta, Dayadvam, Damayata, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. It is the recognition of this peace that sustains all human suffering with a dignity. That's all I have to say. If anyone wishes to ask me any question, I invite questions for whatever confusion I might have created in your minds with my discussion. Is there a
one
question answer
question,
session, Dr. Shu?
just one or two questions we can provide. One question is already there. Dr. Rita Shong has asked, Do I dare disturb the universe? Quote unquote, question mark. Does it reflect the confusion of proof rock?
More than confusion, it actually expresses his dilemma. And once again, I would like to focus on the split of his personality. There is one part of his personality that wishes to work, that wishes to act, but the other self actually holds him back, right? And he is so lost in his internal conflict that he cannot take a conclusive step, right? It may be a trivial step, but it has to be a conclusive and comprehensive step. But owing to his confusion, he cannot take any action which would define his meaning in society.
Okay. Any other question from the participant? Any other question from the participant? If there is no question, then we will going to end our session. I think there is no question. So thank you, Mr. Shubhodip Mojumdar, for your marvelous session and well informative session about proof rock and their psychological issues about the proof rock and about the T.S. Eliot, and that the time you have mentioned and you compared the other things and the other writings of T.S. Eliot very explain in a very explanative mode. So we all are well benefited from your lecture. Thank you that you have arranged to deliver lecture in our webinar. Thank you a lot. Now, Dr. Uma ma'am, I would like to request you, as you are the panelist of Mr. Shubhodip Mojumdar, you are requested to speak some focus, light on some focus on his lecture, on his speech.
Thank you, Samosri. And thank you to all participants. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. Too much raining actually outside. That's why. No problem.
On behalf of Education and English Department of Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya, I am thanking you both, Dr. Somojit Acharya and Professor Shubhodip Mojumdar, for your valuable speech. Now, in this panel discussion, my opinion about the lecture of Professor Shubhodip Mojumdar of Koilan College of Education is that in this pandemic COVID-19, we are all mentally stressed in many ways. Confined to home, no work, no pay, always caring about hygiene, going to workplace, maintaining social distancing, etc. For our children, especially our students, they have been confined and stressed about their online classes, their examinations, their results, etc. The topic discussed here about psychological analysis of our mind, about inferiority complex, hyper-consciousness, mental stress, etc. And a process of overcome this in this situation is very vital. The topic beautifully analyzed the conventional sophisticated thoughts and action of Pavlov. Actually, the state of our mind is more important for our life. As our face is the mirror of our mind, any disorder in our mind will reflect on our face. So don't panic, don't be stressed, be happy and be safe. I again thank you all, Dr. Somojit, Mr. Shubhodip, Prathita, and especially Samosri Sur and Radharan of our college and all other faculties of the Department of Education and English of Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya for their cooperation. And thank you all the participants again. Okay,
Ma'am,
thank you.
ma'am, uh,
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Uma ma'am.
yes.
Hello. Dr.
Hello,
Prathita Vishal madam. Hello. Can you
hello.
hear me?
Yes,
Hello. Can you hear me?
yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Adamas University School of Education has arranged a counseling session, and we are happy to announce that
Yes.
they have selected some of the students of Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya also. So, ma'am, I want to get your permission that if you kindly please allow some of our students, those who are some good in speaking English and understanding English, because the session will be on English only. If they can participate in counseling session about the stress, anxiety, and all, some it will be online. They will be benefited, and for their later on, if they want to pursue any course from Adamas University, they are also will be allowed. So, ma'am, this is I would like to request Dr. Prathita Vishwas, madam, to tell about something about it.
Yes, when it will be there at
Prathita Vishwas,
Adamas?
madam.
4th of July.
Which date? Confirm
4th
the
July.
date. 4th July. Okay. Okay. Please speak something, Prathita.
Yeah.
Prathita, madam, please.
Yes. Ma'am, you can call me Prathita.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Just let me share the screen. We are having a human resource program from Adamas University. So that is education and career building beyond COVID. That is totally a free session. And here we are basically looking upon the psychological stress, upon the career stress and everything. This is totally a free session, and as a result, there will be a good interaction session between the panelists. So, if anyone is interested, they can contact Shamasri, you or me. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So
Okay.
that is what I wanted to say, because
I
many of the they don't know that some free sessions are going on, but people are very stressed nowadays. That is why I wanted to share this.
yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
I shall inform them through
Okay,
WhatsApp or through the departmental teachers. Okay.
okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am. Now I would like to request Mrinmoy Mukherjee, Department of English, Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya, to give vote of thanks for this both the sessions. Mrinmoy, are you there? Mrinmoy, are you there?
Voice audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Mrinmoy,
yes.
please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is really a great pleasure to me to be a part of this national webinar. And at the same time, I am honored to have an opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks to all the dignified persons. First of all, I would like to thank to the both eminent speakers of today's webinar, Dr. Shomojit Acharya and Mr. Subhadeep Majumdar, who have actually enriched ourselves with their inspirational thoughts and valuable words. So thank you to both of them. Then I would like to thank to the two panelists of this webinar. One of them is our beloved principal, Dr. Uma Ghosh, and obviously Dr. Prathita Vishwas, HOD School of Education, Adamas University. Madam, we are really thankful to both of you for your heartiest cooperation. Next, my heartful thanks to the convener of this webinar, Dr. Samasi Sur. Thank you, madam, for your great endeavor. Further, I am thankful. I am thankful to all staff members, students all passionate participants, and last but not the least, to all the audiences for keeping patience and for making this webinar as a grand success. So to say, this is our second attempt through online. After getting a huge response and a huge success, after conducting the first webinar through online, we have stepped forward to arrange to host this webinar. And I hope if you all remain with us, we can arrange such a webinar in near future. So once again, I am thankful to everyone. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Mrinmoy, that you deliver speech so well. Vote of thanks. Dear participants, you are requested to keep contact with us because we are going to organize an international workshop, 7-day international workshop on research methodology, issues and concerns. Shortly, we will be we will give notice, and please keep in contact with us. We will inform you, and you can join us. Thank you all. Thank you all the panelists and all the resource persons. Now we are going to finish our session, and we are very thankful to have all of you among us. Okay, ma'am, I am ending the session.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Shamasri. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
All the participants, please keep contact with us. We are in future, we will arrange such webinar.
Definitely, ma'am, and thank you for giving me this lovely opportunity. I wish you all the best in all your future seminars or webinars or workshops, whatever you conduct. My best wishes are always with Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya.
Okay, thank you. Thank you also.
And ma'am, just last but not least, just one thing I would like to add that Shubhodip sir is Shubhodip sir is arranging everything that we have going to collaborate a international workshop with Poilan College of Education and Department of English, Department of Education, Siddhinath Mahavidyalaya. Shubhodip sir is the person who is arranging all this support from Poilan on the end of Poilan College of Education. So in this respect, we are very thankful to him also.
Dr. Ghosh, your teacher has actually betrayed me because I prefer staying behind the scenes, and she has actually exposed me to the limelight. Right. So I'm not going to spare her for this. Okay. So anyway, I'll try to do whatever is within the best of my capacity, and I'll try to be as much cooperative as possible so that the plan that you have, so that your project attains success. That's my word. That I'll try my level best to ensure that it becomes a roaring success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Okay. Leaving the session. Okay, bye.
Bye. So Shamasri, I am ending the session for all.
Okay, ma'am. Ending the session. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Take care.